I'm not quite sure how, but every week I make it here right on time. I'm not sure how I do that. So, okay, everybody's coming in. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? Introduce yourself in the chat while everybody's coming in. Tell me where you're at. Tell me your storage experience. Are you a newbie? Are you an oldie? Do you have storage facilities? Do you don't have storage facilities? Yeah, so introduce yourself. Today, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about if I had $100,000, what would I do with it in the storage world? Right. So that's gonna be the topic of today is if I had $100,000, what would I do with it? And you guys can chime in as well too in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. So good. So welcome. I see we got somebody from Maryland here, Jermaine. We have Carl from Houston. We've got Chance in Tulsa. We've got somebody from Mississippi here. So we're getting lots of people come in. Steve is from South Carolina. So welcome. Introduce yourself to me. Let me know if you're a newbie or not. You own a storage facility. So we own 13 storage facilities. And I think 13. Yeah, I think 13. Yeah. So and we have 2 of them that are in our fund, which is the Self Storage Fund of America. And then we have 11 of them that we own personally. Okay. And we're through Georgia and Florida is where we're at. Okay. And I've been investing in self-storage since 2017. All right. So it doesn't really take very long to get where I'm at, right? You just have to like take action. Really, that's the thing. I would say the one reason why I'm so successful at what I do is because I actually take action. And I tell this to my students all the time, and I'll tell it to you. Like, and as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're trying, as long as you're exerting energy and you're making this a priority, it will come to fruition, right? But the truth is that it just takes work and effort. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I look like I'm just successful, right? But the truth is I've been doing this, nonstop since 2016. I mean, I looked for my first storage facility was in 2016. And I was pregnant with Lillian, and I really wanted to just have passive income so I could stay home with her. And so I got out there and really started looking at storage as an option to be able to do that. All right. And then ever since then, from 2016, the first year that we bought our storage facility in 2017, I bought 1. The second year I bought 1. The third year I bought 3. The fourth year I bought none. And the fifth year we bought 5. So it's like, how many is that? And then the sixth year we bought 2. All right. So, it's not easy. It's just, I don't, Amber says, oh, you make it look so easy. The truth is it's just me doing this over the course, every day, all day long over the course of the last like 5 years or so. Okay. So you have to, what you focus on expands. And, if you really truly want to buy a storage facility, then you have to be making an effort to want to do that. And I'm going to tell you the best way to make an effort is to put offers in, because it is just a numbers game. That's it. It's just a numbers game. Everybody says, hey, how do you find all your facilities? I put offers in. We put a lot of offers in. We put so many offers in. We put like 10 to 15 offers in a week, and we still don't find any, hardly any storage facilities to buy. Now, every once in a while, you'll find something your first try. I have a student right now that, like, he was in the coaching program for like 6 months. I was like, you got to get out there. And he just like never did, and I was like, you got to get out there and start talking to owners and stuff. And then, of course, the first person that he talked to, he got it under contract. I was like, of course that happened, right? But that really doesn't happen like very often, right? But it happened to him, so it could happen, right? And I keep saying right. I'm not sure why I'm saying right so much, but I am. Anyway, so so put offers in. So my question to you is, if you truly want to buy storage, then you I ask you, how many offers did you put in this week? And it could be through Crexy, it could be through, just going to the owner directly, it could be the MLS, through a broker, it could be all different ways of doing it. But like, how many offers did you put in this week? We put a lot of offers in, and we still don't get any storage facilities a lot of times. Okay. Okay. All right. That's my 2 cents. And I'm sticking to it. And so what I wanted to talk about today was $100,000. And if I had $100,000 right now, what would I be doing with it? And that, so, especially this is for all the newbies, because I talk to so many people, and like typically people have like $50,000 or $100,000. I mean, that's typically what everybody has in order to get started in self-storage. Okay, there's a few of us that have more than $100,000, and there's a lot of us that have less than $50,000. If you have less than $50,000, then I highly recommend that you learn how to wholesale self-storage, or you find a partner that has money. All right. And so if you're one of those ones listening to me right now, then if you have less than 50 grand, because the truth is that commercial real estate is expensive. It's expensive. You got to think big. It's so funny. I got started in real estate investing in like 2010. And I was talking to a guy, and we were sitting he was sitting across from the table from me, and telling me about real estate, and I should get invested and get into real estate investing. It was he was like, and I couldn't think big, I couldn't think like that, because I just had never been put around that, and he was talking about, $50,000 and $100,000 checks that he was writing. And to me, I was just, like in awe. I was like, how are you doing that? That is just like, that's like impossible. Like he's like, I'm writing like 50 and 100 grand checks all the time. And I was like, wow, that was like so weird. Like how that would be like, what is that? What would that be like to write 50 and $100,000 checks? And when I was talking to him, I vowed, I said, I am going to write $50,000 and $100,000 checks. I want to write a check that says like $100,000 and like pay somebody. And the truth is like, man, at one point I was doing so many rehabs, because we were doing like 20 to 30 rehabs in a year. I was paying $50,000 in insurance, general contractor insurance, a year. Could you imagine writing these checks out every month for just being like a general contractor for insurance? And and I started writing like really big checks. I was like massive, huge 20, 30, 40, $50,000 checks to contractors. Now, of course you want to get the check, right, for $50,000 or $100,000, but I was writing a lot of checks out to contractors and stuff for this much. But I got to the point where I could write like $50,000 and $100,000 checks out. And then I started, after a couple of years of doing that, I started receiving those checks too. So when you sell the houses, you would get like, $50,000 or $100,000 checks, so I would just get wires though, because like checks, they hold them for like weeks. But yeah, so like I started getting to that point where I could do that too as well. But 10 years ago, I could barely fathom doing that. Now, and a lot of people, it takes forever to save up $50,000 or $100,000. And the truth is, really, I mean, this is the one thing that I really, really, truly believe, and I hope you guys take this to heart, especially for like what's coming up in the next couple of years. But you have to learn how to have multiple streams of income. You have to have multiple streams of income. How many different ways are you making money? That's the question that you should be asking yourself. And when I started in 2010, that's another thing that the guy across from me was telling me. He's like, I really want to, he's like, I write a lot of big checks. And when he said that, of course, like that stuck in my head. But another thing that he said was multiple streams of income. He's like, I have several different ways of making money. He said, how many different ways of, income do you have? And at that point, I had like just a W-2 job. I had one stream of income. That was it, And so I started thinking about that. And at that moment, when he told me that, I vowed to also start one new stream of income a year. One new stream of income a year. And so that was 10 years ago. And I probably have like 25, 30 different ways to make money right now. And so I want to just inspire you to start thinking about how many different ways are you making income? How many different ways are you doing that? Because especially over the next couple of years, those that have a lot of, different ways of making income, even a second or a third or a fourth, they're going to be the ones that are going to be a little bit safer than the ones that just have that one job. Right. So, so we have obviously our 13 storage facilities, so that's like 13 different incomes right there, and then all the different other ways that we make money. So I would really like to stress to be focusing on multiple streams of income for the next couple of years, and then start creating, the $50,000 or the $100,000 to get to that point, right? $100,000. So today I wanted to just talk about 100,000 because it's an easy number. You could multiply, you could substitute for 50 grand if that's what you have, or whatever, 50 grand or 100 grand, I think is a good number to work with. But I just wanted to get in, if I had 50 or $100,000 right now, and I wanted to get into self-storage and I wanted to invest in self-storage, what would I do? And so I'm going to kind of just go through that today and just see what you guys think. And you guys, if you have any ideas or questions, just post them. Ariel Lynn is here and she'll post, especially for everybody that's in like, on the other, YouTube and Facebook and all this, she'll post her questions and stuff so I can, I can find them. And we already have questions like, can you 1031 a storage facility? Yes. Residential property? Yes. So questions like that. But we'll get into all the different questions as well, too. So post those as well. Okay, so $100,000. Now I've taught this several times, and but I'm going to go through it again because it's really just a different way of looking at it. Is all the different ways that you can invest in self-storage, all the different ways that you can invest in self-storage, and then I'm going to give you also my ways that you can invest in self-storage as well too. All right, because I got a lot of stuff going on now. I'm going to just create a whiteboard. I'm not sure how long my my pencil is going to last, or my iPad is going to last for my whiteboard, but I hope it works. Actually, let me see if it works. Well, of course it doesn't work. Yeah, so we'll so I guess we don't have a whiteboard because I ain't working today. So we'll just talk about it. That is what we'll do. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to talk about all the different ways that you can spend $100,000 in storage. There's 6 different ways for you to invest in self-storage. All right, and 5 of them, but let's see, the 4 of them, you need money in order to do something. All right, you need money. So this $100,000 that you're going to have is going to be perfect for these. And then the other 4 we'll get into, which will be like super passive. Okay, so the first thing is it was exactly what I do, which is mismanaged facilities. Mismanaged facilities. All right. And if you only have $100,000, okay, mismanaged facilities are very, very difficult to buy through a bank, right? Because a mismanaged facility essentially means that it's not producing the income that it should be producing. And so a bank is not going to lend on it, right? Because banks only lend on income producing properties. Now, there are banks that do what's called projection-based loans, okay? But they're few and far between. So SBA will do a projection-based loan. And we're in the process right now of talking to SBA about doing a projection-based loan. But they're going to definitely want to have a lot of spread. right? So like they're not going to just give you money if you're only going to make 50 grand on the back end or 100. Like they want you to like double, if not triple the value of that property. All right. So projection based loans, you should really be at a 50% LTV or lower. 50% LTV or lower. LTV means loan to value. Loan to value, right? So we're in the process of buying a $2.5 million facility that's worth $5.4 million. Okay. That is like, obviously that's 50% or less than 50% loan to value. Okay. And, so you're going to just, when you think about mismanaged facilities, you want to have like a huge spread. So a bank is not going to really fund this deal unless there's like this massive, huge spread. And you can prove to them that you can take this mismanaged facility and make it to this beautiful facility. And actually, and I'll do like a whole session on this once we're done with this loan. But there is like so much stuff that they want for this. Like it is not easy to get a projection based loan. Just so everybody knows, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. They're requiring like a ridiculous amount of stuff. And it may be because it's the times. And maybe because like, like all the banks are super conservative right now. And they're like, what about this? They want like management, some reason, management business plan. And they want a business plan and they want like resumes and they want to know like everything about you and in your whole life. And they just want a whole bunch of stuff. And, they want you to be able to prove that you have the experience. And then also at the same time, you have like a plan for this thing. Okay. So that's mismanaged facilities. Essentially, you could go and get a projection based loan. Now you have to it's an SBA loan because typically only SBA loans are really only SBA is going to do a loan for a mismanaged facility like this. Some local banks will do this, but like especially right now, very, very few. Like local banks are being very conservative. Okay. And so they're gonna want you to do 10 to 15% down. So SBA requires like 10 or 15% down, depending on like a lot of different things, like your experience, and then also your your experience plus like the loan. The deal itself. Is it a good deal or not? Like, and a lot of times what SBA does, I've seen my students, like this happened to my students quite often. A lot of times they'll tell you, oh yeah, 10% down. And then like the day before closing, they'll be like, oh, sorry, like we have to do 15% down. I've seen this quite often. So I would and I tell my students all the time with SBA, just like run your numbers at 15% down. All right. They may say 10% down, but the truth is that it's really like 15% down. And also SBA has like a ridiculous amount of fees. They do. They have like a lot of fees. They just get you with a lot of fees. So just run your numbers at 15%. Okay. So at 15%, right, $100,000, you're only going to be able to buy like a $500,000 facility, right? Maybe 500, 550, something like this, right? That's 20%, right? That's 15%. So like, I say 600, 650,000, something like 550 to 650, let's say something like that, depending on the deal. Right. So you want to make sure, and you just kind of like, if you have $100,000, you just reverse engineer, how much money can I put down? Oh, okay. Then I should really just be looking for these types of deals. So a mismanaged facility where you have to, you can buy like $500,000 to $600,000 and put down, 52 or it's like $675,000 or $100,000 or something like this. Okay. Because you may need some CapEx too, right? So you want to make sure that you save the money for CapEx if you need it. Especially for a mismanaged facility, you probably need some CapEx, right? Because they're just like, are a mess. We literally just closed on a facility. It was a $375,000 purchase, but it's a $200,000 in CapEx, right? So obviously that's like a severely mismanaged facility. We probably could have got an SBA loan for that, but I'm just, I didn't want to go through the whole like shebang of doing all that. So I just like raised the money. Okay, so $100,000 can get you a mismanaged facility. If you want to do a projection-based loan, And it's like between $500,000 and $600,000, let's say, something like that. Okay, so now in your mind, you're like, okay, now I know where what kind of a facility I can buy. Where can I go find this? And so then, okay, a $500,000 or $600,000 facility is not going to be in like Nashville, right? Or like Orlando or something like this. Okay. A $500,000 or $600,000 facility is going to be in a tertiary market. Tertiary equals country, right? In a smaller market, or maybe a secondary market. So for me, a secondary market is like 100,000 or less. I say 25,000 to 100,000 population. That's not oversaturated. Or a 25,000 or less, like little tiny town, something like this. Okay. And sometimes you can't find a $500,000 facility, even in a town that's like 5,000 people or less. And so it really just kind of just like, it just hangs, like it depends on your area as well too. Okay. So for instance, like, in Florida, there's a lot of like little tiny towns, but they're suburbs of like all these bigger areas. So obviously that's not going to work as a secondary market or a tertiary market, right? A tertiary market is really like a standalone. Like I live in the panhandle of Florida now, and I mean it's very tertiary, honestly. And so, this is like the perfect place to find like a $500,000 or, $600,000 facility. So where are those tertiary markets? And I just had a student in the panhandle close on a facility. It was 110 units. And it was like almost 400 grand. It was like 389 or something like this. Okay. And it was a mismanaged facility. They had not raised rates in like 10 years. Okay. So I would say probably a $500,000 or $600,000 facility it's not going to get you much. It's not going to get you much anymore, man. Gone are those days. So, so just keep that in mind. And I would just be focusing on tertiary markets. But like some areas, like maybe Missouri, Missouri has a very low price per square foot. And so you might be able to, find a $500,000 or $600,000 facility in a secondary market, right? Not in the touristy areas, but in like, a little tiny, a little secondary market town or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So mismanaged facilities, $100,000 will get you a projection-based deal. That's what it will get you. Okay. Most of the time with mismanaged facilities, you need to raise the money. That's why I said I bought a $375,000 facility and I'm going to put 200 grand into it. So I had to raise the money for that. All right. That is most of the time with mismanaged facilities, you have to raise that money. Okay. Or you have to have cash for it. Okay. The second way is income producing properties. Now, income producing properties, banks love income producing properties because it's like very low risk. Okay. So you can go to like a local bank in the area and you can get a loan, $100,000 down is going to get you, it'll get you a good, decent size facility. Now, the only thing with local banks, 6 one way, half a dozen the other, is that local banks right now are requiring more money down. They're requiring like 20 to 30% down. A lot of them are 30% down right now, just because of the market. So we're running our numbers on bank financing for 25% down and 7% interest. That's how we're running our numbers right now. Now you always have to think about bank financing as in like when you close on the deal, what is that interest rate going to be? So we're actually getting a loan on a property right now, and we're running our numbers at like 8.5%. 8%, man, that's crazy. But that's what we're running our numbers at. Now, if you can find a deal that works at 8.5%, then then it's a great deal, because eventually you'll be able to refi that out and get a lower rate. It's just that right now you're going to close on it and hold on to it for like a year or 2 or 3 years. And then you'll be able to refi that out at a lower rate and you'll have a much more spread, right? So there's nothing wrong with buying at higher interest rates at all. I mean, in fact, every deal that I've ever done is like high interest rates. So it doesn't bother me at all, but you just have to have a bigger spread. You have to have a bigger spread. Okay. So just keep that in mind with income producing properties. $100,000 can get you a very good income producing property in a secondary or tertiary market, but you just have to make sure that you're running the numbers based on what the terms of the banks are right now, which I say, is anybody else seeing anything else? 25% down and 7% interest, I feel like is a good number right now. But let's see what happens in 5 days, right? And we'll see what happens in 5 days. I'm guessing they're gonna go up, right? I think they're gonna go up through March. That's my guess, but I don't know. What does everybody else think? I would love to know. Okay, so $100,000 can get you an income producing property, and you can go to a local bank and get a loan, or you can go to SBA and get a loan. All right. And SBA, again, I've already been through that, loves income producing properties, and they love storage. And so SBA is a great option. They like projection based loans. They like income producing properties. They really like $500,000 or more, really is what they want. They want kind of like a little bit bigger deals, just FYI. And then the smaller banks, like if you have something that's like 300 grand, just go to like your local bank. All right, that's like the perfect loan for like a local bank anyways. And then, so you have income producing and you have mismanaged, and then you will also have $100,000. Well, you can do new construction. Well, it'll help you to buy something that you can do new construction. $100,000 will help you to get all the preliminary work done and probably buy a piece of property in a tertiary market, right, where you could build storage. Okay. And SBA loves new construction. All right. So if you're thinking, like, if you're that type of person that's like, man, I got this perfect piece of land, I've been like driving by this lot on the corner over here, and I think that would be the perfect spot for storage, then you may want to consider getting a feasibility study. A feasibility study will cost like maybe $3,000 to $5,000, depending on it. It costs like a couple $1,000s. And then they'll basically do a study and tell you if it's a good place to build or not, right? They look at competition, they look at like rates and all this kind of stuff, and they tell traffic and things like this, and they tell you if it's a good deal. So if you have $100,000 and you're like, kind of like thinking in the back of your mind, well, maybe I could just build, I'm going to tell you, building is an amazing way to make money and to leverage money too as well, right? You will make the most amount of money by building. But the only thing is that you have to just have a very strong stomach, right? Because it just takes a long time. It's a lot of work. And really the hardest part about building is really the preliminary work, right? Getting the approval from the city and the county and getting all the construction stuff done. That is really kind of the hardest part of it. So if you can get through that and get to the point where you have a permit, then, working with the contractor, of course, is hard, but it's not as hard as the preliminary work. All right. And it's also preliminary work for new construction is very just slow. If anybody's ever done, I've built before and it's just very slow. All right. So that's why I say you have to have a strong stomach, but $100,000 will get you enough to buy land, to maybe put a down payment for some steel, which you don't need to do. You don't really need to do that until you close on the property anyways. But it'll get you enough to buy a piece of land and get all your preliminary work done, and then go to a bank and get a loan and put some money down for the loan. An SBA, remember, will require like 10%. So now, right now, I just pitched a fund that I'm co-sponsoring, and it's in Texas, and it's a new construction deal. So the Rhonda's the person that I partnered with, and she's like, she did it great. I mean, essentially, she went out and she did all the preliminary work. She's been working on this thing for months and months and months to get it all done. She worked on putting the fund together, and then she's raising the money. Right. And she'll get, like, that's what I love about new construction too, is the returns are just amazing. I mean, it's like a 25% return. So if you have the, and then so she basically is spending $100,000. She's putting this into the deal, right? To put the whole deal together. Her cost is $100,000. And she's the one that did all the preliminary work. So she actually found the facility. She put it under contract. She went to the county and did all the work that the county wants. She went to the city and did all the work the city wants. She also found the loan. She got an SBA loan. And then she's going to be the manager she's going to be manager of the funds. But she only, like, essentially her cost for putting this fund together, which basically she's going to syndicate this deal out, her cost is $100,000. And so for $100,000, if you are a savvy investor, or you understand the concept of putting funds together or syndicating, or you want to learn about this, she essentially is spending $100,000 on putting this whole deal together. And she put the earnest money down, and she did the PPM, and she went through that whole process and stuff. So essentially her fee is her cost to doing this is $100,000. She's managing the project. She's managing everybody is what she says. She's the asset manager. She's the manager. And in the end, I mean, she's not going to get paid out until the facility is built. And she's not going to get paid until it's leased up, right? But then in the back end, she's going to make a lot of money. It's going to take it'll take 5 years for her to make that money, but she'll make a lot of money. And so for her, spending $100,000 now in order to make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in 5 years is worth it, right? And also, I think this is great too. I really love this concept. So I'm okay with not making any money until like the very end, the last year, the 4th and the 5th year of the fund. And so if that's the type of thing that appeals to you, she's doing a $6 million fund, and it only cost her $100,000 to really kind of manage the whole process, get everything to the point where she has the permits. So she does essentially what's called entitlements. That's like an entitlement is what it is. Preliminary work is called entitlement. So you're getting it from nothing to something, right? And then she's still managing the fund, but she's going to hand it off to like a GC, and then the GC is going to build this facility. And so she's the asset manager. So this is, if you have $100,000 and you may kind of understand that concept a little bit, this is a very, very good way for you to make money. And so I think we can add that to the list of ways you can invest in self-storage. Now, obviously on the other end, right, you can always put your money into a fund, right, and just be like a passive investor. Right, you could just put your money, you find a fund and then put it in and do nothing and make money, right? That should really, honestly, that should be everybody's ultimate goal. That should be the ultimate goal, really, is like just being a passive investor. In my personal opinion, the best way to make money is to just lend it out. But, a lot of people feel like, they have to own and do the work and stuff like this. And so this is how we are too. My husband kind of feels this way too. But ultimately, the goal for us is to become a passive investor. And that's why we focus on funds and do that. So, yeah. So just to recap, we have the mismanaged facilities. All right, where you can get an SBA loan, put money down. We have income producing properties where you can get an SBA loan and you can get a local bank to fund it for $100,000. Or you can do new construction, right? And you can just go out and find a piece of property. Now, in new construction, essentially like a square piece of land that's like a half of an acre will fit 50 doors. All right. And like a rectangle piece of land that's an acre or a square or an acre will fit like 100 doors. Typically, this is kind of where it's at, just to give you an idea, right? So I always calculate on average 1 acre fits 100 doors. Okay, if you calculate it right. Now, obviously, most of the properties out there, I'm not sure what they're thinking when they're like building their storage facilities. A lot of times I'm like, you have like an acre of land and it's just like 5 different buildings in all different places and stuff, So I saw one facility one time. It was a 2-acre square. And he had 200 10 by 10 doors there. It was like the most perfect property ever. Like it was like, and the driveway in between all of them was like, I think 15 feet. And then the door, they were just lined up. The buildings were lined up, and then there was a gate, and it came in, and it was just like this, like perfectly made property. It's like, I will never forget that facility. I was like, it's like the most perfect facility. I never see like hardly ever properties like that. They're always like angled and like they're trying to fit as many. And back in the day, this is kind of what you did, right? Like back in the day, you would try to do like a 6 by 10 next to it, like a 4 by 9 and stuff, and like fit it in. Because a lot of times, I mean, essentially price per square foot, the smaller the facility, the more you make. And so this is the concept of what a lot of people back in the day were thinking, like, oh, like I need to get a lot of stuff small, especially when they didn't have a lot of stuff, and it's like, a 5 by 10 was a good size. Now obviously everybody wants 10 by 10s and 10 by 20s, so it's like you might as well just stack those things and make them like perfectly in order and stuff. So anyways, yeah. So $100,000 in new construction will get you X amount of space, and then you could build onto that as well too. Or $100,000 that can fund your next syndication, right? So you can get out there and you can raise money for your own deal. And I'm going to tell you, right, over the course of the next couple of years, everybody should be learning how to raise money, because the truth is there's a lot of money out there. People right now are trying to figure out where to put their money. Everybody's just like all over the place because, the whole world's just going crazy. So put on your list for 2023, your goal, learn how to raise money. Learn how to raise capital. All right. So, putting in offers every week, 5 to 10 offers a week would be great. Or, talking to 5 to 10 owners and putting one offer in. We're not 5 to 10 offers, putting one offer in a week, talking to 5 to 10 owners and putting in one offer a week. And then learning how to raise money. Right, so that you can take your $100,000 and you can multiply it to hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the next couple of years. That's something that I highly, highly recommend that you're focusing on. Okay. So those are really the four ways that you should be investing. the fourth way is really is the lending part. Right, so I kind of got into that and putting money into a fund, but really lending your money out. If you have $100,000 right now and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, so I can't find any good deals, my money's just sitting, not doing anything right now, then you should really just be lending that out, and getting it worked and, and making money. So lending your money entails, partnering with somebody and, finding somebody else that has another $100,000. So that $200,000 can buy you $1 million property, right? Or it could be, putting your money into a fund. You could, you could just lend the money out as well too. You could lend that money out as like a loan to somebody that wants to buy a facility, or do a bridge loan, right? A lot of times, people don't have enough money for like down payments and things like this. So you could do a bridge loan. I have like one deal right now that I'm partnering. I partnered with. I got the owner to owner finance. It was a $600,000, $600,000 or $700,000 facility. I got the owner to owner finance like 400 grand of it. Yeah, I got the owner to owner finance 400 of it. And I needed $200,000, like 200 more thousand, because he needed to pay off his loan. So I just brought somebody in with 200,000 and just partnered with them on the deal. Okay. So you could do the same thing with 100 grand or 50 grand, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of is that bridge to getting the deal done is what it is. And then you're just in the deal and you can just, be a part of the deal, silent or not silent, however you want to do it. But partnering is a great way to get into the business and to learn and to see and to, trial and error. So if you have $100,000 sitting around, I highly recommend that you either call, 10 owners a week and put in one offer a week so you can find a deal. All right. Or you start working on like building, or you partner or lend the money out to somebody else, or put it into a fund, a passive, like so for passive income. But don't just let it just sit there. Don't let your money sit there. All right. That's one thing that I'm really, really good at, is like I'm actively moving my money around and like working my money. My money is there to help my business grow and to help me build wealth. But that's what it's for. Okay. Okay, good. So those are the 4 ways to utilize $100,000, in my opinion, right now in this market. Any questions on that? Any thoughts on that? Put them into the chat. And any other questions? I saw some come up, so I'm going to answer those as well. And let's see. What if we want cash flow versus money in 5 years? So cash flow versus money, I mean, cash flow, like when you say money, what do you mean money? I mean, cash flow is money, but like cash flow, you can get cash flow from owning a facility or lending money. I mean, I talk to investors on a daily basis, and there are investors out there that do nothing but just like lend their money out. And all they care about is cash flow. I mean, they're asking me, what is the distribution? How much am I going to make on a monthly or quarterly basis or annual basis? What is that distribution going to look like? Because I live off of this distribution. So I need to know how much money you're going to be making, right? Versus I own this facility and I'm running my numbers and I need to know what my cash flow for this property is going to be. So cash flow is just cash flow. It doesn't matter if you're lending the money out or if you're, you're owning a facility. Now I'm going to tell you, owning the facility is going to be way more work than just lending your money out. All right, just so you know. So when you calculate cash flow in owning a facility, make sure that you calculate your time and effort in working on this facility versus like wiring money over, running numbers, wiring money over, and then getting distributions. This is going to be way less time consuming than this is. Okay. I heard vacancies are rising as the recession kicks in. What occupancy rate should I model for? We run our numbers at 92% right now, 92%. Okay. We talk to so many owners. I'm full. And then they want us to run their numbers at like 98% or 99%. But the truth is like 90% is like, I think, a good number to run your numbers at. But the truth is like, especially in primary markets, I would say in a primary market, run your numbers at 80%. In a secondary market, maybe 85 to 90%, and a tertiary market, like 90 to 92% or something like 88 to 92%. Is going to be like a good number. Like, so you never want to run your numbers at 99%. So 90%, I think, is a good solid number for tertiary markets and, secondary markets. And now physical occupancy is different from economic occupancy, right? So physical occupancy, is like, I'm full, right? I'm like full. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, is everybody paying? So we're trying to buy this facility right now where the guy is, he's full and he should be making 150 grand a year, but the truth is he's making like 110 or something like this. So that means his economic occupancy, those that are actually paying, are low. That's the difference between physical and economic occupancy. Right. So make sure that you understand those two as well, too. And you're looking at that. Now, obviously, like, if you buy a facility that's at like 75% economic occupancy, and, I'm still running my numbers at like 90% physical occupancy. Because, the ultimate goal is to get this full. As is, you could maybe run it at like that current, we run it at that vacancy, right? So it's, it could be at 65% full or 75% full. But the truth is your goal is to get it to 90% full. And a lot of people are saying, okay, like I'm getting more vacancies and stuff like this. But the truth is that like, that just probably means their prices are too high. Right. And you want to consider that when you're running your numbers and looking at competition. Like, you do not want to run your numbers, your price per square foot, at like the highest, the number. And I've talked to several banks where they said, like, we ran our numbers at like 90% full at like, 90 cents a square foot. And like now they're 85% full at 80 cents a square foot, and they're barely able to make the mortgage. Right. So you want to keep that in mind. You don't want to be like, oh, the competition around the corner, the big one over there is charging double, so I get to charge double. You want to look at the entire competition and what they're charging, and then over the course, of like 3 months, what have they raised their rates to, and are their rates dropping? And you could see this in Radius Plus. Okay, so for instance, we bought a facility in August. Where the entire area, the price per square foot within like all like 10 facilities within like a 10-mile radius is like $1 a square foot. And so we ran our numbers at like 95 cents a square foot is what we did. Like, we just wanted to be ultimate, like ultra conservative and say, okay, like, we're not going to get to $1 a square foot. We're going to be like a little bit less than that. So you just want to be like super conservative, especially right now. Now, obviously, it's a cycle, right? So they may not be full now, but eventually they'll get full. Although everybody that was full this past year or so will not be full, may not be full over the course of the next year. So it's just a cycle. But you want to make sure you just get that average. Right, a good solid number. Say, like, I feel comfortable with this number. Like, I know that I'm not pushing this number. I'm not going to push myself, that's the goal. Okay, if you're financing at 7% and economic occupancy goes to 80 and you modeled it at 90, what happens to your cap rate? Yeah, your cap rate goes down. I mean, it goes up. It's like horrible, so, but the truth is that like, this cycle is only going to last like so long. You're only gonna, so it's only gonna last long. So you just gotta keep that in mind, that over the course of the next year, you may have to decrease your prices, right? And this is something that we're like, because what we do internally is every 3 months we look at our prices. Are we in tune with like what the market is calling for? So for instance, on that facility that we bought, where it was like 95 cents a square foot. So we actually, because like when we bought the place, it was like he was charging $20 for a 10 by 10. That's how bad it was. $20 for a 10 by 10. And so obviously we're at like, we're at $100 now. And so of course we pissed a lot of people off. So a lot of people left. And so our physical and economic occupancy, we lost like 30 people or 30%. I'm sorry, we lost a lot of people. But then like in the last month, we've gotten like 10 new tenants at like $100. So obviously that's telling me that like our prices are correct. It's just that these people didn't want to pay that much. They'd just been paying $20 for the last 10 years, so they were just like, screw you, I'm out of here. So when you start getting in and like managing the place, you'll start really getting a feel for what the prices should be. And so when you're running your numbers, you just want to be conservative right now. You are not pushing your numbers, you're being conservative. The national average, right, is like 88 cents a square foot for a 10 by 10. Now, some areas I told you, like Missouri, is like below national average. Arkansas, some places are like below national average. But for the most part, what I'm seeing, most people are at like the national average. Most areas are at the national average. And I went into like one of the Facebook groups. This is like funniest thing, but I went into one of the Facebook groups, not mine, to a different one. Actually, I went into the managers one. Is what I did. It's like storage managers or something. And I posted out and I asked, I said, who here knows what the national average for a 10 by 10 storage is? A storage unit is. And that's why I said, I'd like to know if anybody here knows what the national average is. And like everybody, not one person said 88 cents a square foot. And they all these different, I don't know if they're managers or investors or what, but they all posted like what they're seeing in their area for 10 by 10s. Right, which makes sense. I mean, it's not like they don't know what they're doing, but like they only see what they know. I mean, they only know what they see, right? So they're charging, and everyone, actually all those prices were all like national average or well above national average. And there's a good 100 people that commented on that thing. So obviously prices across the country are like high, but there are some areas, like poor areas, where they're low, 50, but I still think they should be going up, man. I think they should be going up 50, 60 cents a square foot. Okay. Yeah, see, Noel says 85. Okay, so let's see what else. On any other final questions before I hop off to my fund? So right after this, I'm going to pitch my fund. It's the Self-Storage Fund of America. So if you want to be a passive investor, if you have $100,000, $50,000 or $100,000, you don't know what to do with it, you should put it in my fund, right? So that's stacyrossetti.com/fund. And I always pitch that right after this. Okay, we have some questions here. If we invest in the funds, we have to wait 5 years for cash. Yeah, no, you don't. So if the fund is like quarterly distributions, most funds are quarterly distributions. Some funds are annual distributions, and some of them are quarterly distributions. So as soon as that fund starts making money, which for us, we calculate month 9 after you put your money in, but essentially you'll make quarterly distributions. So you'll get on a quarterly basis, X amount of dollars, depending on, how much that you put in. So that's how funds work. Okay. How much NOI can you get from a $500,000 property? Well, so we shoot for 10% cash on cash return. So I mean, we typically go by cash on cash. We don't go by NOI. All right. And NOI, for anybody that doesn't know, is net operating agreement and not net operating income. So you have the gross income, right? So this is what I'm making. So let's just say $1 million property is making $100,000 a year. But then you have to minus your expenses. We run our expenses at 38%. All right, so let's just say 40%. So I got 60 grand left, right? And then out of those 60 grand, that is your NOI, the 60 grand. And then out of that comes your mortgage, if you have a mortgage, right? And it depends on the terms of the loan, what your mortgage is. And then after that, you have your net operating, you have your net income, like your net income. And that's what you're making on a monthly basis. And that also determines what your cash on cash return is. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's a key factor. Now in my deal analyzer, the one that I offered to everybody that bought the course, that is explained. So hopefully if you bought the course, you upgraded to the deal analyzer, because on the deal analyzer, there is a cash, like a valuation sheet that shows you those numbers. All right. And the course is available till midnight tonight. So if you haven't bought it, then make sure that you buy that, and then you can upgrade to my deal analyzer. Right. And so that I think Ariel, and can you post out the course for the last time? So we're going to close it at midnight tonight. It's $497. All right, and then you can upgrade to the deal analyzer, to the deal with the deal analyzer if you want as well too. Okay. But yeah, so that's how you calculate that. Okay. And then finally, let's see. Do you ever have competitor pop up 200 doors near you? How does that crush your numbers? Okay, so you're talking about like primary market, maybe secondary market is what you're talking about. All right, like you're not going to have like a tertiary market facility like pop up 200, doors next to you. Okay, that's going to be more like secondary market, maybe to primary market. Okay, so no, I've never had that happen because I only buy in secondary and tertiary markets. Yeah. So, and then primary market, remember, is like, it's going to be expensive. So my question to you is, how much money do you have to spend? Because I'm buying $2 to $3 million facilities, and they're in secondary markets. Okay. So, typically primary markets like $3 million or more, but I would say probably $5 million or more. Okay. Okay. With all the conservative forecasting of the future, how big of a step back do you feel storage is going to take? I do not feel like storage is going to take a step back. I'm telling you, storage is amazing, because in an upturn, you're going to you're going to be moving and changing and doing things and like buying more stuff and getting rid of old and putting new in your house. And it's just like this whole cycle. And then in a downturn, it's the same thing. You're like, crap, now I got all this stuff and I got to downsize to a small house, right? So now I got to put all this stuff in storage. Why do you think apartment buildings are adding storage? Why do you think when you see a new apartment building, they all have storage on them, right? Because why do you think RV parks have storage, and like mobile home parks are building with storage, and then there's like tiny home places and there's like storage right around the corner? I was like, at one point I was like, build a tiny house community with like storage. I mean, that's the perfect like idea, right? So yeah, no, storage is not going to go anywhere. We basically, as Americans, we have this disease, and it's called consumerism. All right. And even, you know, even in the bad times, we still buy stuff. We buy different things. And actually we buy more, right? Because we buy the smaller things. You're like, oh, I can afford $5. I can afford 10. I can afford 15. I can afford 20. And then that stuff just like starts consuming, right? So you can't go out and buy like huge, big items, but you could buy like little tiny things. And a lot of people, when they're, you know, when the times get tough, they spend money. That's the kind of mentality that we have. Okay, all right. I am going to hop on to my pitch. I appreciate you guys hopping on, and I will see you guys next Monday. And you know, I appreciate all you know, everybody following me. I'm here to help, you know, and make sure you get into the Facebook group, post out any questions that you have. Okay, we're there for you. Take care.